one. Hello everyone, it's Angela from Create Full Living, embracing creativity and living life full. Here's my teacher's bullet journal in a Scribbles That Matter notebook. I've sped up this video just so that you're not watching for ages, and you can see there on the cover page that we're going for a wintry theme. So we're starting off with just drawing some lines for our monthly calendar. So I'm just dividing the page into 3 on each side, so I'll have 6 columns, and I'm going to be using this theme that you see inspired around by that Christmas card with the birch wood at the top and the little squirrel, really thinking of this wintry theme, and I've got my color choice on the side there as well. So now I'm just dividing the rows up. So I'm going to be doing 3 weeks worth. So the first half of technically the spring term, but I'm calling it winter term because it's the middle of winter in January. What I do each day is I put my timetable color coded. So each class that I teach, I've assigned a different color to, and these are the little squares that I'm doing. And so I can look at an overview for those 3 weeks, and I'll know exactly what I'm teaching. This is my first way that I plan. I look at my week holistically and think, what am I teaching across each class, across the 5 days, and then I put more detail into my dailies and then more detail into the PowerPoints that I create. Most of my planning is on a PowerPoint, so this is just really a link to what topic when, and just seeing a bigger picture. So now I'm just doing the color coding for my timetable. You'd think being a term in, I'd remember the timetable, but just looking back to try and get it right, and I still make some mistakes, as is always the way when you're trying to color code and do different things. So I'm just checking back on a previous weekly from earlier in the year to see what my timetable is and when I teach different classes. I haven't put my PPAs and blank periods in. I teach part-time, so that's why there's different amounts of days, different amounts of lessons on each day. And you can see that I've made some mistakes with the color coding, but that's not a problem. I'll just fix that up. That's just part of the normal process, so I haven't edited that out for you. Alright, so you can see, one case I even just decided to go ahead and use Typix. I so seldom use Typix, but it worked out okay in this case. And so now there's my front winter A theme, and I'm just looking to compare that front page with this next page to ensure that I have a very similar overall view, and looking again at the card. So now we're going to start the artwork. I'm drawing this red cardinal. I knew that I wanted to have a red cardinal as my overall theme. Last month I had lots of pink roses and sort of purpley colours, and it frustrated me whenever I used a red pen, which is normally what I had to hand in the classroom, that it just didn't really match. So this month I wanted to make sure that my colour theme looked fine with red pens, black pens and blue pens and green pen, which is what I tend to have in the classroom. So those are the colours that we use most. So I'm just sketching it out in pencil, and then now I'm using my Faber-Castell F-size pen, Artist Pits, just to go over. This is a great pen, it's one of my favourites. I really love that it's watercolour proof as well, even though I don't really use watercolour in my work bullet journal. I like to be able to use this pen in my personal bullet journal, which does use a lot of watercolour, and so having the waterproof pen is very handy. So now I'm just quite freehand, just sketching trees, not worrying too much about the detail, putting in some branches, and I am rubbing out all of those pencil markings now. My eraser, getting rid of all the eraser pieces so that I have a nice clean page that I can now add colour to. So for my work bullet journal, I tend to use markers just because sometimes I'm at work and different places, and so I like to be able to just do really quick adding colour and having that colour on the page without having to get my paints out. It's generally a much more simpler design, though for January I wanted to have a bit more of a creative look, because last month I did that and I really liked having a pretty work bullet journal. I just found it helped me when the days are cold and wintry just to feel inspired and to plan and stay organised. So I'm adding lots and lots of grey, just with a grey marker. Again, just doing these sort of random lines around, trying not to be too careful with it, just keep it sketchy so that it looks not perfectly symmetrical and all those sort of things, so it looks like real trees. And again, just ensuring that all of those birch trees have that kind of look of the grey lines along. And once I'm happy with that and happy with how the trees have gone, I'm adding a little bit more branches, just keeping an eye on the overall effects, not worrying too much again. I'm now going to go over with a bit of black pen just on some extra branches that I added. And you can see on that first page I used light hitting the trees with a bit of yellow, and I had some shading in between just to kind of mark off those trees. So I decided to do that, to go through and shading grey in between the trees, so it creates a sort of 3D effect. Very similar to that page that I just showed you for a second. I hope you can see that for that moment. That if you look back at my Instagram page, it was a squirrel mood tracker which I did the birch trees with. So I'm doing that same effect of having the grey in between the trees, just to kind of highlight those trees. Alright, so still speeding this up. I hope it's not too fast and you can kind of see what's going on. So just kind of matching the bottom to the top, and just again not being too careful. I was just checking there wasn't too bad. The bleed through there wasn't any bleed through. I did get a bit of ghosting, but I'm not too worried about that. This is just for, you know, work use, just for me, and I still think it's pretty, and I'm not too worried if I do get a little bit of ghosting, as long as it's not bleeding through, which it isn't. So that's great. This is my Scribbles That Matter notebook, which I'm using for school this year. Alright, so I thought I needed to add a bit more grey overall, and now I'm adding that yellow just to give that sort of light hitting the trees kind of effect. Again, going just throughout, adding lines to all the different trees, just to create that kind of texture. And I saw there was a bit of blue on the front page, so I wanted to do the same thing, adding a bit of blue just to give dimension. I like using lots of different colours, even if it's a colour I wouldn't necessarily use, because it just creates that sense of movements across the page. And now I'm just going and outlining a little bit. Decided I didn't like that pen, and got a different black calligraphy pen. This one's not waterproof, and I've never tried it before in this bullet journal, so I wasn't sure if I'd get a bit of bleed through and ghosting. I think I did get a little bit, but again it wasn't too bad, so I decided to just go with it. I hadn't done a pen test with this, which I probably should have done. A pen test at the back is a really good idea to do. So you can see, just going through, adding a little bit of black to give that 3D effect, and I decided to add some more of those sort of horizontal lines throughout, just to give dimension. I was going to do it just on one side, but it didn't look quite right to me, so I added more to this page, and you can see it's starting to take shape. Outlining the cardinal, so you get this sort of illustrated look. And yeah, I'm really happy with how this monthly turned out, and I think it's going to be a great use to me in January. There's one thing that happened as I was creating this page, which you'll see in a few minutes, which is maybe the danger in creating this in 2018, because oh no, it's 2019. So now I had to try and think, what am I going to do to fix this? Eventually I just decided to put a post-it note over. I was thinking, do I just take the whole thing away? Do I use different colours, different kind of cards, trying to decide what do I do to fix this. Couldn't believe I made that classic mistake. Sort of tissue paper, was thinking of covering it up with that. Would that work? Again, just not sure, having a bit of a panic. I know that some of you will relate to this. So just trying to think, how could I fix that? I was going to go with the tissue paper, but just didn't like it, so eventually just stuck a post-it note over and wrote 2019. And I kind of like the fun of that. That just reminds me that I need to not make that mistake on the board and such at school. And then this is something I really enjoy doing, just taking a pastel highlighter and just writing the days, and then that's easy to write over. So that's my page for my monthly. Alright, next we can see there's a little bit of ghosting. I'm going to do a memories page similar to that one that I'm flicking back to from this previous term. So just with a big brush pen, I'm writing the word memories. Now brush pen writing is something I'm not very good at. It is a goal for 2019, so I'm just kind of keep going at it, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to improve as I go. You can see I don't quite get the widths right, and I'm still very much a beginner on brush lettering, but I still like the overall effect of this, and in many ways this is just kind of a brainstorm sort of page that I really enjoy, just the fun things that kids do or funny things that happen at school. I really enjoy just recording those quickly, kind of a brainstorm style, showing you I have bought Tombos. I'm hoping to do proper brush lettering, but that'll be a goal in 2019. Alright, next page. I'm just trying to remember what this page is going to be. Oh yes, so each half term I need to contact parents just about the rewards or sanctions that students get, and I wanted to do a spread just to keep track of basically contact with home, so that I know which parents I've contacted and what the outcome of that is. So I'm drawing kind of envelopes, the idea of, even though I'm emailing, just kind of an envelope idea, and one side is for rewards, one side I think is for sanctions, if I remember right. Yeah, so rewards or for other. And I decided to use the highlighter method again to draw lines. At the top I'm just writing with a calligraphy pen. I'm just writing home contact record, and now I'm just going to be drawing the lines just using that same pastel highlighter. And again, I did this freehand. I think it looks quite good overall, but I clearly am not that good at drawing straight lines, so that's something I can work on. And so, but still works pretty well. You can see I went a little skew, but I still really like the overall effect of this page. And I think drawing those every other line in different color really makes it look quite lovely to use. Alright, this page I'm going to use for just jumped ahead. This page I'm going to use for just an overview, so you can see I am using a spice rack, and just the bottom, and I'm putting some coffee prints onto the page. This is for a quote that I found that I want to put on this page, and this is just an overview of what happens in the term, so like a termly overview. And in each of those coffee mug sort of circles, I'm going to put different year groups in. You can see a glimpse of the page. I somehow missed filming, but it was just a meetings note page. Alright, so just letting this dry, and then writing class overview, and I'm going to fill in each of the classes that I teach, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 10 my tutor group. And then I'm just writing a quote along the bottom, which is what inspired this page. And let your coffee be strong and your classroom calm. So let your coffee be strong and your classroom calm. Now, this was kind of an experimental thing to use coffee in my bullet journal. And what ended up happening is I had some sort of splatter over the page. So on this page that I created for meeting notes, I just made some notes on there saying, note to self, always bring coffee to your meetings, and I kind of just embraced the fact that there was coffee there. Coffee makes meetings more manageable, at least there was coffee, and just kind of, at first coffee, all of those kind of things on the page. And then on the page on the other side of this class overview, again, I'm just going to move things along and decide to use that as a brainstorm page so that I don't mind that there's a little bit of mess in there. So this was going to be my first weekly but instead, whenever I mess up a page, instead of sticking paper together, I just say brainstorm and use that as a rough page. And so I can kind of just do any thoughts that come to mind or any quick notes that I need to do. And I just wrote coffee first again, so that I didn't mind the fact that there was some coffee there. I'm just looking through, seeing how I like everything. And so instead of my week 2 weekly, I'm now going to do my first weekly on this page. And I really liked using that spice bottle. So now this time I'm putting acrylic paint on the bottom, just a bright blue acrylic paint, and I'm going to use this to create kind of a snowflake. Didn't work too well at first. I needed to add a bit of water to the acrylic. Again, still not getting the best prints, so I'm just learning this kind of on the spot and letting you see how it worked. And I kept having to redo it and go back round just because I didn't have enough wet acrylics. I think it might have been better using watercolor or something like that rather than the acrylic paint. But overall, as I persevered, I actually really liked the way this ended up looking. And then I just drew with a metallic gel pen that I had sitting in a drawer. I just drew these really simple snowflakes, so adding to this wintry theme. I had no plan for this page before I started and sat down to do this, so I was quite excited to kind of come up with this idea to use those little circles with a bit of texture around the snowflakes. And as the page progressed, really liked how I did. I knew I was going to cover up these snowflakes a little bit, so I wasn't too worried about being too perfect with them. And I wanted to put my word for 2019 at the bottom, which is intentional. And I wanted to do this sort of in a dictionary style, so saying that it's an adjective, and just giving a little bit of a definition of that, performed with awareness and done deliberately. So you can just have that reminder at the start that I wanted to do these things on purpose, that I want to be intentional in everything that I do in 2019. And I have this little overlap but in the middle. I end up making that just a goal section so that I have the 5 days, and I'm just going to again use a calligraphy pen just to write goal, and was going to say goals, I just fitted that in, and now I'm just going to put the dates in, so 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th and 11th of January, and I'm just writing again the days at the bottom, all of these just with italic calligraphy pens. It does end up smudging a little bit, but I'm not worried too much about that, just because it kind of gives a snowy effect. And again, you'll see, like I do on all my weeklies, just like the monthly, I'm doing the color coding, which really is the central part of my planning, just getting this overview of what I do every day. And even so, I still mess up with the color coding, but I'm able to just fix that, because the color I did wrong was yellow, so I could go over it with purple and it still looked kind of purpley. So just putting in each color, and that's my first weekly spread. And just putting in any important dates, like we do uniform checks on the first day. You can see writing in red, it still sort of works. There's assemblies on Thursdays, and I need to make sure reports are done in the first week. Alright, so that's the kind of way I use these spreads. Going over to my week 2 weekly, because I moved everything on. Oh, I just wanted to come back and write January 2019 this time, make sure I get it right, and this is my first week. Alright, going on to week 2, and I want to come back to that red cardinal theme, because I wasn't too happy that that first one didn't have the red in it. So I'm thinking again that I would like to have this sort of branch with the greys and have a cardinal there. So again, just the same way I made the branches before, with the grey and the yellow, and this time I'm just drawing in cardinal in the red, and I'm going to go over it with pencil, with pen, just creating a sort of sketchy overall look. So just giving the silhouettes in red first, kind of like a stamp down of colour, and then I'm just going over it with my trusty Faber-Castell, which I love, and just drawing that overall shape of a cardinal, which I think looks quite good really. It's a little bit less perfect because I didn't sketch it out first, but that's okay. And again, I had a little quote that I wanted to put there. Don't let life just happen to you. Create your life on purpose. And that's just linking with my theme of intentionality in 2019. And I just did a little bit of bow calligraphy in the bottom there, just emphasizing the downstrokes and just going over these with a bit of sketchiness with the calligraphy pen, just to kind of make it look a little bit more sketchy draw. Alright, so now I'm thinking of a similar idea to what I did the previous day. I almost went to the wrong dates because I forgot that I needed to leave space for the weekend, so just going over that. Again, just letting you see those mistakes. This is a normal process when you're bullet journaling, that you do make mistakes, but that's okay. That's all part of just embracing them, adjusting. This is your personal artwork in the end of the day, and it's about personal organization. My work bullet journal is really about just keeping me organized. It's a place for me to put lists in, because I so often used to just have post-its everywhere, and I just now having a beautiful organized bullet journal, something that I love. So I'm drawing little cardinals in branches behind these letters, a little flying one, just again the same process, these mini little sketches in red and going over with Faber-Castell pen, just kind of outlining, giving that impression of a little bird. And I love how this page turned out. Separating out the days, and you'll see again that I put in my color-coded timetable, and so I have a place to list everything and just a place at the end for notes. So I'm not even using a ruler for this. I've been sitting for quite a while setting up at the stage, and so I was kind of keen to get it done. So just hopefully this time I can do the color code without making a mistake, but nope, still messed up. It's always a good idea to start with the lighter colors, in case you make a mistake, because you can just go over it hopefully. And just checking back, filling in. You'd think I'd know my timetable by now after doing this for a term, but apparently not. But thankfully it was just yellow going over green, green going over yellow, so that was fine. And there's my final page. I haven't set up the rest yet, but I'll just show you what we've done so far. So there's the first monthly. Again, correction of 2019, but I don't mind how that turned out. It's a good reminder. Memories page, a little bit of ghosting, but that'll be okay. Home contact record. And then I have a meeting notes page where I do these little notes throughout. I kind of like how those copy theme kind of went over those pages. I think it kind of adds a bit to that page. Class overview where I can put what chapter we're working on. Brainstorm page to make use of any pages where bleed through or things have happened, sort of mess it up. A wintery page with my word of the year, about being intentional, and the cardinal weekly for week 2. Alright, hope you've liked my bullet journal setup. I hope this has been inspirational to you, and I hope you'll create your pages too. Alright, bye.